my gourd. This is going to be so much fun to talk about. There we go, he knows it. I've got intercontinental champions of film here. We're going to talk. Let's start. Let's start liking the sound of music at the very beginning. Where did it all begin for you all in horror? Where was that romantic relationship begin with horror?
The first thing I saw that I remember was Twilight Zone the movie, oddly enough. At the drive-in, I would have been like 3. I don't know why I was there. With my parents, obviously. And I did not drive myself.
Just picture you as a 3-year-old with a mustache.
But then the moment when Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd are chatting and driving, and I think it's Dan Aykroyd that says you want to see something really scary, and turns and has like this wolf, weird, crazy face. The fact that I remember this obviously scared the shit out of me and traumatized me. And then luckily, Cursed Film Season 1, 0 stars. Got to interview, I did an episode on Twilight Zone the movie, and I got to interview for a different episode, the guy who did the makeup of us. Yeah. So it was like exposure therapy.
I vividly remember. How about you?
Weirdly, the first real scare I remember was Large Marge in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but an entire movie, the movie that scared me the most earliest was Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the Donald Sutherland one. That just really got me. Mm-hmm. Still gets me.
And I love that you said Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because the whole movie, there's little elements of horror, but that Large Marge is just like, wait, that's in this movie?
Totally.
No, so good. How about you?
Psycho was coming on television. I was 7 years old, and my mom was watching it. I think the fact that it was black and white and Hitchcock from the 60s, she probably thought, she also loved the movie. She thought it wouldn't be that scary. We were watching it together, and the reveal in the end, it really got me, and I was quite scared by that. And there's this movie which might be a bit obscure, but like it's called The Ghoulies. It came with starring Sean Austin, I think 93 or something. I saw a scene from that on television when I was like 7 or 8, and I got really scared. And then The Ring came out, and that traumatized me. I was actually very scared of horror throughout my teen years till my friend showed me The Shining when I was 18, and then I tried to slowly get back into horror. But I was actually very scared during watching anything horror related.
But you always come back to horror. It's something about it, the thrills. How about you?
My first memory of being terrified is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when they the steamroller and Christopher Lloyd and the dip. But that shoe, he doesn't come back. Anyway, it's okay, guys, I'm fine. And then the second thing was that my parents always said, if you're going to stay up, the only reason you can stay up late is if you're reading. And so my dad had a collection of all the Stephen King books. And so I have vivid memories of the entire house being quiet, and I'm reading It or The Stand or any of the short story collections, and just the understanding that what's in your head is so much more terrifying. Like what you imagine is so much more terrifying, plus the steamroller getting you from the toes up.
That's horrifying, even for a kid's movie.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the theater, like, was it 5 or 6 years old, 7, and I was like, wait, what?
Just so cool.
It is not a fast death, it's a slow death you see all the way through.
And I think parents weren't prepared, because they're like, cartoon movie, here, right. Something for the whole family. It's like, no.
You learn early.
It's like a 3-year-old at the drive-in.
Speaking of another kid's movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. That movie, that's the first time that as a kid, and I don't know why I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street when I was, but just the images of like Freddy's hands coming out of people, and like a waterbed scene, and like being dragged up onto the roof. These things stuck with me for life.
That's good though. I love that movie. Yeah. Johnny Depp action.
I feel like everyone got traumatized really young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it just went over into it.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Well, my brother was a manager at a video store, and so he had a huge tape collection, and he would also, back in the day with newspapers, would print the movie posters in the actual paper, like full page ads. He clipped them out, and kept this scrapbook, and it was like under his bed, and I would go to this scrapbook and flip through, and it just had all kinds of stuff. And like Shakma was an obscure 80s horror movie that I remember the cover of. And in that thing there, so I was really young looking at this stuff, and he used to keep the movie stubs that he would go to at the theater, and like I was being taken to R-rated movies, like alien movies, at age 3 and 4. And there's a picture of me, my dad holding me, so I must have been under 4. We went to an exhibit where they had like a movie prop rotation, and they had the aliens exhibit there. So they had the power loader, they had Queen Alien, and they're all posing for the camera in this Polaroid, and my little kid self is looking at the alien queen, just staring at it. So I think it's never not been in me, honestly. It's just as much a part of my childhood as riding a bike.
I love that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for me, I mean, not you guys, but for me personally, but we all talk about how we were such kind of little, and I don't know, 3, 4, 5, under 10. But my parents were very like liberal with me with movies. Just whatever you want to see, just let's talk about it, and let's look at the behind the scenes stuff later, to see that it's not exactly real. So I feel like that's how I got into horror, and I don't know, just I guess I look at it through the lens of like, oh, how did they make that, and kind of
Feels like that's the entry point for a lot of people.
yeah.
The artistry of the effects.
Yeah.
So with VHS Beyond and it having this sci-fi, this alien quality to it, did y'all navigate when you were coming up with your segments about what is so fascinating and cool about aliens and what is so terrifying about aliens?
I'll use this opportunity to tell my original pitch to Josh, which looking back on it now is insane. I wanted to do something like They Live, because the idea of aliens being amongst us and in disguise, I think is interesting and terrifying. So my pitch was to do a documentary about that and suggest that certain politicians were actually aliens, and it was all like reverse engineered to explain why Rudy Giuliani's it was going to be revealed that that's the sign, that's how you know they're aliens.
That's really funny. Oh man, that's funny.
I wish I could have done that. I'm fascinated and scared and all of it of aliens, but I didn't know. I knew so little about the overall theme of the movie. We were in the dark, but in a good way, because I think it was we didn't want to know too much about the other segments. And I remember there was some discussion about the name of the movie was going to be, and we learned while we were shooting that there are no sci-fi elements to it, and that's kind of the common, but it definitely didn't change our approach, like knowing that there was this sci-fi element. But I love aliens, and I love the other movies and how it incorporated aliens. So I'm so happy with how it turned out, but it definitely didn't motivate anything for us. It is kind of sci-fi though. There's like an
Sure.
island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, there's
kind of
body
deal,
horror.
and
Yeah.
Of course. Yes, but we weren't
like,
aiming for a
yeah,
genre, or that didn't motivate anything. I would say.
That was cool. Anybody out about navigating the coolness of an alien or this?
Yeah,
horror?
I think the one thing I knew I wanted to do with aliens was make a non-threatening alien. Like, it's not the alien's fault. I describe him as an alien DoorDash driver who was like, gotta go get a spider and an octopus and call it a day. And when he gets home, he's like, oh fuck. Ah! And he's like, I gotta fix this before anyone sees it. And so, I wanted that, an alien that was trying his best. And that was the terrible thing.
That was a terrible thing. What about the stork? Love the stork. When that was watching it on the opening night, and the stork came on, it reminded me of the decades old joke of the stork. Do you know it? All right, so.
No. Are you going to tell me?
If you want to, it made me laugh. I immediately
Distance yourself a
It just reminded me of this old joke, and I saw it. I was like, oh my goodness! And it was a little boy goes to his mother and asks, "Where do babies come from?" And she goes, "A stork." And the little boy goes, "Well, who fucks the stork?"
All right, that was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I, coming up with that, though, these monsters and characters, and either using digital or practical, talk with me about some of the aliens and the monsters, and having fun with all of that.
Sure. I mean, that's what I loved too, is that the idea of the stork, but it is an inverted version. Instead of bringing children, it's taking them. And I mean, it's based on, and I've told this, but it's based on artwork by an artist named Oleg Dovenko, and he didn't explain that because there's no words to the images. It's just 16 images that we had to link with, a script and fill in the gaps. But I loved that idea of just, because it's such a bizarre thing, the title itself just was interesting to me, and that kind of a monster's never really been done before, that size of a monster has, but I love that aspect of just the children and a baby laughing in a haunted house. We've seen and heard that so many times, and it's always creepy, but what's behind it being something completely unique in our case. And doing the practical monsters and all of that was always, in fact, at one point, I think, because we knew we had Justin to be doing the VFX, we were like, should we just do this, digital CG, or should we do a miniature even? Someone suggested that.
You realize what I have to do?
He was deep in, but the thing is, you could have done it because you did do it on yours, but it would have just been way too much. But skill set, he could have certainly done that. But that thing was massive. Its head would have touched the ceiling in this room that we're in. But I love practical effects, and in general, it just made more sense for ours because how the camera was going to move, that we would be using CG as a subtraction instead of an addition.
No, I love that. And with yours, the lady that's going to take out everybody on a movie set, that's just amazing. Where did that all come up, and how did you get the look of?
I think when initially, when we were just conceptualizing the look, so Josh and Evan and I and Brad Miska, they all suggested to me that it should immediately you would think of the Terminator. That's the first touchstone movie, and all these movies which have the sci-fi look, but Terminator with it. So they said yes, that is a touchstone, and that's something we should look at, but let's try to stay away from it as much as possible to come up with something fresh, something new. And we would always discuss about it having a fleshy Cronenbergian quality. How would that look? What would a Cronenberg sort of take on Terminator be? And a fleshy that's actually sort of ties into your previous question, that even though there's nothing to do with alien, she's like an AI machine, but what if she had alien-like qualities, that kind of gray texture, in the face and everything. And then we took all these ideas, and I took it to our special effects artist in Taiwan, Victor Chang. He worked on The Sadness, and he just took all that and created this sketch which was just perfect. And once he had that, everybody just flipped out on it, and we just stuck with that. And one thing which was funny, coming back to Terminator, was the fact that we thought we were going to stay away from the red light in the eye, and Victor would keep insisting, no, we should have it, keep thinking. So we shot a lot of our segment with the light, without the light, just to give us some options. And in the end, and some of the stuff in the end, we were running out of time, so we did it with the light. And Josh and everybody, we realized in the edit, oh man, it's looking amazing with the light. Because it goes dark, and you can only see that light. And sometimes you do realize that you're trying to stray away from homage, but sometimes a sort of subtle homage and respect to something which has come before, which is like the Terminator, is actually a good thing. And I'm glad we did it. So
That is awesome.
I was going to say one thing really quick.
Yeah.
Is, with My Alien specifically, I remember early on, I spoke about this at the Q&A, but trying to come up with a fresh new take on an alien is really, really freaking hard. And so I lean on a lot of people, and eventually Brad Miska was telling me, he's like, I just watched Fire in the Sky 20 times in a row. That end scene alone.
It's a scary film.
Right? And so I went back, and I was like, I haven't seen that in such a long time. And I watched it, and I was so inspired by the fact that I was like, that's what I want. It's got to feel more human, that's going to be more scary than some monster. So it really motivated the design at the end of the day for my
Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Christian in Fur Babies. I know a lot of it is based off of like kind of YouTubers and just kind of the Mr. Beasts and the crazy hype houses of the world. Was there anything that you actually based like any YouTube channels that you don't have to name them specifically? If you want to, you can.
I couldn't,
Yeah.
so don't worry. No, it was more of a kind of a general commentary on the general sort of self-righteousness at times of these types of groups in this younger generation. I love the younger generation, don't get me wrong, but you see that exists, you know, this like, we're gonna take back the power, and it's often they're kind of like after the wrong thing in some ways, and they get really. So we love the idea of the main guy being, he wants to find his friend, but he like also wants to look cool on camera, and like that's kind of more of his motivation in a way. He's like a real, kind of turdy, self-righteous guy. But yeah, there's always something kind of like more satisfying about seeing that type of guy go down, and it's like kind of more exciting no one should be, I don't want, spoiler alert, no one should be attacked by human dogs to death, but if anyone's going to be, it's going to be a guy like that.
My last question to wrap all this up, fun question, serious question. If you could each take, a monster in your in your segment, the monster in your movie, and insert that monster into any other movie to make that movie better, which movie are you doing that in? So like, what is the stork? What movie would you put the stork in?
Well, not that Jace could be better, but how funny would it be if you interviewed the stork? So I'll put it into the wraparound. Yeah, I love that.
You'd be like, look, I did nothing wrong.
Awesome.
I would put Gary the Pomeranian and Benji and give him a run for his money.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I would put Tara in La La Land, in a musical.
Yeah.
A romantic comedy,
Yeah,
She
do
could
it
be
that
there.
way. I love that.
I guess it's Haley. She's the monster at the end.
Right.
So I think we're gonna. This is not a movie, but a TV show. I think we're gonna make her the Bachelorette.
Love it. Give her that rose.
I feel like I want to put my alien in an alien movie, so I want to put in Aliens.
Oh, badass.
I would put my alien to make a movie better.
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool and Wolverine. What did you give
I
them?
hate you. 5. Good. Thank y'all so much. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks. Give me a hug. See ya.
It was good. That's good seeing you.